You're listening to the official Euro 2020 podcast in association with Qatar Airways.
So UEFA Euro 2020 is finally here.
And impressive Italy are off to a flyer in Rome.
Mobile, Insigne, 3. They've got 3, Italy, in a game in the finals of a European Championship.
One game down, 50 more to go. We talk Italy's win over Turkey and preview 3 more huge matches, including Belgium against Russia.
Yes, we take you to St. Petersburg as well as Copenhagen and Baku in the next hour. And we'll hear from Gareth Bale, Roberto Martinez, Christian Eriksen and Granit Xhaka on the official Euro 2020 podcast. Okay, welcome to the show brought to you by Qatar Airways. I'm Rod Daly and I'm with my co-host and European football expert, Chris Parrott. Chris, hello.
Hello, Rob.
Also joining us for the next hour, Euro 2020 commentator Mark Scott. Mark, great to have your company.
Brilliant to be here.
Chris, isn't it great to have the tournament up and running? Nearly 1,800 days since the final of Euro 2016. And of course, we've had the year to wait.
Yeah, we have.
But it feels like a proper tournament. We're up and running.
It does. And Italy took absolutely no time at all in hitting the ground running. Very, very impressive victory. First time they've scored 3 goals in a European Championship final tournament match. Delight for Roberto Mancini. And I just think the occasion was terrific to have fans inside the stadium. I was gone by the national anthems. The passion from the Turkey 11 and, of course, the Italy 11 was brilliant. Fans there enjoying themselves. And at the end, Mark, Italy going home very, very happy, and they were mighty impressive, weren't they?
They were. I think that, they really turned on the style, especially in the second half, and really upped the ante, as well as scoring the 3 goals. Another clean sheet. That's been a trademark of their fantastic form going into the tournament. And you mentioned the national anthems, Chris, a word as well about Andrea Bocelli when he sang Nessun Dorma. I mean, I was gone at that stage. It was absolutely electric. And it's great that we had a performance that matched up to the spectacular pre-game entertainment.
And I think, Rob, before this match, some people were looking at Italy and looking at their run and the fact they haven't conceded in 2021 and thinking they might just go a long way. And that noise will only grow louder this evening. It's now 28 matches unbeaten in international football for Italy, which is a long, long run. 2018 was the last time they were beaten.
We had the fireworks pre-match. Rome did really feel like the perfect setting to get Euro up and running this season. A reminder, we are on every night just after the final match. As it finishes, the show will be made available as well as the official Euro podcast to download every night. Let's get on to Italy's win against Turkey then. First of all, Mark, it was a tight first half, wasn't it? Between two teams that we knew have very good defences.
Absolutely. And I think what Turkey did really well in the first half was keep Italy at arm's length. Italy had a lot more of the ball. They were the dominant force in the first half. All that was missing for them was a goal. And funnily enough, Turkey seemed to be a little bit more expansive just after the half-time interval. And that almost proved to be their downfall, you would have thought, because Berardi got a bit of space for the opening goal, an own goal. And after that, there was a bit more swagger about Italy. The goal gave them a bit of confidence. You just wonder, with Turkey trying to open up a bit more, if that may have just contributed to Italy getting a foothold.
Let's remind ourselves what happened after that tight first half.
Berardi, is he in for another one here? Oh, it's an own goal. Demiral, the Italian-based defender. And Turkey are breached here, and Italy are on their way. Spinazzola pushed out well, but Immobile tucks in the rebound. No more really than Italy deserve. Immobile, Insigne, 3. They've got 3, Italy, in a game in the finals of a European Championship.
They really did turn it on after half-time. Turkey had their game plan, didn't they, Chris? Clearly, we saw how deep they were playing defensively, trying to hit on the counter-attack. What do you think caused them to change the game plan and open up a little bit? We saw Cengiz Under, of course, plays his football parent club in Rome with Roma. Yeah. They did try to play a little bit more expansive.
Well, I think perhaps the fact that they were relatively comfortable maybe made them think, well, let's just test Italy a little bit more. I think perhaps Şenol Güneş knew that if they weren't a threat for the whole 90 minutes, at some stage Italy's dominance of the ball would probably pay off. So maybe he was trying to preempt that. And certainly it didn't quite pay off. I think Bonucci and Chiellini had pretty quiet nights. And then at the other end of the pitch, you heard it there from the commentary, really. It's amazing. Italy end up winning 3-0, but that one slip, that one unfortunate moment in games of this quality and this magnitude, that's the difference, right? Because that gave Berardi the chance to put the ball into the box. Nothing that the Turkey defender could do about the own goal. And Italy will say they deserve that for the dominance they had up to that point, and Turkey will bemoan, a very unfortunate two things happening really in the space of 5 seconds, and they're 1-0 down.
Yeah, Demiral, of course, plays his football in Italy as well. It is the first time in Euro history that the first goal of the tournament has been an own goal. Very unfortunate for him. Let's cross live to Rome then, to a man who is enjoying the spectacle at the Stadio Olimpico. Vieri Capretta joins us live on the show. UEFA.com reporter. Vieri, great to have you on the show.
Ciao, everybody. What a night for Italy.
I imagine you're a very proud Italian after not only the performance, Vieri, but also that opening ceremony. It felt very Italian. It was wonderful.
It was. Having the fans back, that opening ceremony, the result, the football we saw tonight, everything was absolutely brilliant. Emotional, really.
Yeah, Vieri, talk to us about not just the 90 minutes, but the whole day, having supporters back in after this long, long wait for Euro.
It's been fantastic. You could see it, you could kind of feel it in the air, breathe it in the air, a different atmosphere. It's easy to be accustomed to it again after a year without fans, but then, actually entering a stadium and hearing the chants, having all the fans outside, of course, abiding to the rules and all that, but Rome was just something special today. I think, being here was special. It's been special, and it was just incredible to hear the fans in the stadium and have that background noise. I know it sounds very cliche, but having it there was amazing, and they enjoyed it a lot, all of them, both the Turkey fans and, of course, more so the Italy fans.
Mark, there was obviously a lot of talk about Turkey being very defensively solid at this tournament. We knew the Italians were as well. Did you get a sense maybe, because I think I did going into that first half, off the back of that first half, maybe it's going to be one goal, maybe it'll be 0-0. This seems like a really tight game here.
Absolutely. I mean, they only conceded 3 goals in qualifying, Turkey, a joint low, and absolutely astonishingly didn't allow a single goal from open play in those 3 goals. So, they had been very tight in that respect, but also, they discovered a cutting edge going forwards as well. They'd scored at least 3 goals in matches against Germany, Croatia, Russia, Norway, the Netherlands. So, they know where the net is. Vieri, I was just wondering, what do you think from Turkey's point of view didn't quite go right for them this evening? Obviously, a lot of credit goes Italy's way, but where did Turkey not quite click tonight?
Well, I kind of agree with you. I thought after that first half that the game could have ended with a draw, 0-0, 1-1 perhaps. I think they just didn't believe enough in their chances going forward. I'm thinking, that Cengiz Ünder run in the second half early on, felt like he didn't really know what to do with the ball at one stage. And then, of course, at the back, with this Italy side, with certain players who are really on top form, you can't afford to make any mistakes. As soon as the defenders were slightly out of position, Italy made the most of it. So, it's difficult against this Italy side, and I think it will be for a lot of teams.
Vieri, it's only one game, of course. I'm sure Roberto Mancini, who everyone's going to hear from pretty soon. I imagine he's about to start his post-match media duties. But talk to us about the elevation of this side from 3 years ago when they missed the FIFA World Cup. In the doldrums slightly, given Italy's proud history, and now to be here, having won the opening game of Euro so comprehensively at home.
Well, Mancini took a side that was devastated from one of the lowest points of the past 50 years, not qualifying for a major tournament, a World Cup specifically. And he basically picked a group of players. He's tried other players out, but he was quite confident that these ones were the ones to go with. A clear system, a 4-3-3 that can morph into a more attacking system when the wing-backs fly forward. And we saw Spinazzola doing that extremely well tonight. Absolutely made a difference there. And then he basically told everyone, look, we want to see attacking, exciting football. And they've done it. Admittedly, Italy didn't have the toughest qualifying group, but Italy haven't been great against smaller sides in the past. Even when Italy were a much bigger side or had much bigger names. I'm thinking in the 90s, early 2000s as well. This Italy side was always on point throughout the qualifiers, and tonight they showed it. I think they created, 20 chances tonight, and it could have been easily 2-0 at halftime. So, that attacking football based on possession and rotation and just, attacking pace and flair and technique. It really shows after 3 years the work has been amazing and the results are there to testify it.
Vieri, it's so nice, by the way, to hear the bubbling of a stadium emptying in the background behind you as people leave the stadium in the Stadio Olimpico. I want to ask you about Leonardo Spinazzola. It's good you mentioned him there because he has been given the official star of the match for his performance. And as a Roma man right now, I imagine that makes it extra special.
Absolutely. He's had a fantastic season in terms of performances, but his career has always had a few too many injuries. So perhaps that's the only thing that's held him back. But at Atalanta before and then at Roma, he's had a great season. And tonight he's been able to play the full 90 minutes. And he was an added striker. He was a defender, and then whenever he went forward, he created danger. So I think he deserves to be the best player tonight. And he probably deserved a goal as well, but there's time for that in the next matches.
I love the positivity. I'm sure there'll be a lot of that over the coming days in Italy and in Rome, Vieri. Roberto Mancini's just been speaking. He says, we played well with it being the first match. It wasn't easy and we were against a good team. He said the crowd helped us and it was crucial for us to move the ball quickly. And I think we saw that particularly in the second half, didn't we? The tempo from Italy was set and it was pretty relentless. And what I really liked was when Italy scored the first goal, they weren't content with that. They picked up the ball and they sprinted back to halfway as if to say, we want a second, we want a third.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I said, it could have been a different result in the first half. Italy could have perhaps gone into the changing room thinking, oh my God, we didn't score. We have to sort this out. Instead, they went out in the second half knowing what they had to do. As you said, moving the ball quickly, as Roberto Mancini said, and that showed on that own goal in the end, which is, starting from a Berardi cross, but the way they moved the ball quickly gave Berardi the space to then go in and, break the deadlock, which I think then made all of the difference. With a lot more space, Italy were absolutely devastating for Turkey in those final half an hour. And it could have even been more goals, to be honest.
Vieri, I'm sure we'll be speaking to you throughout the course of Euro. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Ciao, everyone.
Yeah, we're going to be speaking to our reporters around the competition over the course of the next few weeks. UEFA.com's Vieri Capretta there, live from the Stadio Olimpico in Rome after Italy's 3-0 win against Turkey tonight. A very convincing way to start Euro 2020. Spinazzola, as I mentioned, star of the match. And we're asking you as well, and you can get in touch with us on the show, Mark, Chris and myself, on air until midnight CEST tonight. We're asking you for which players do you think could light up the tournament. Spinazzola's had a great start tonight, of course. Loads of you getting in touch using the hashtag Euroshow. Alfio says Federico Chiesa could still play a role in this tournament. Didn't get the start actually today, Chris. That was a big discussion point ahead of the game with this Italy team. Yeah, and you have to say Roberto Mancini got it right. Domenico Berardi was the guy he picked, and of course he set up the opening goal. Alfio was the person who said Federico Chiesa. Kirk Jr. says Lukaku. And Kataki says Bruno Fernandes. But there's so many players to choose from, isn't there? Do get in touch. Tell us where in the world you're listening as well, using the hashtag Euroshow. Let's get Mark's player to look out for in a moment as well. I think I'm going to go for Diogo Jota. I think the fact that he had such a great debut season with Liverpool. Granted, Portugal, of course, are in the famed group of death with Germany and France and Hungary. But I think Jota coming to this tournament looks in great shape. He was so key for Liverpool, performed well in the Champions League. And I think that he surprised people the way he stepped up with the Reds having left from Wolves last season. Do you think he'll start for Portugal? I think he will, yeah. I think he will. I think they will play Andre Silva up front, I think. And then it might be Ronaldo and Jota, and then maybe Bruno Fernandes obviously just off them as well. Chris, have you got a player to keep an eye out for? I think actually I'm going to go with an England player. I'm going to go with Mason Mount. Again, it's not absolutely nailed on that he'll start given the attacking options that Gareth Southgate has, but I think Mount has been fantastic for Chelsea as they won the Champions League, and this is his first major international tournament. I can see Mason Mount really making a name for himself on the international stage.
And I think that I'm also going to go with someone that's in the England squad, not a guaranteed starter, Jack Grealish. I always like players that seem to muscle their way into the reckoning late doors, just as a tournament's on the horizon. And having seen quite a few of his performances in the flesh for Aston Villa in the English Premier League, I love the way he plays. And he's just got that little bit of genius about him. So Jack Grealish, I think, is the one to watch.
And JD tweeted in actually as well, Mark, a picture of the now blonde-haired Phil Foden.
Of course.
Who's obviously done that in honour of 1996 Paul Gascoigne.
Indeed.
Gareth Southgate can't play all these guys.
Someone else suggested it might have been in tribute to Eminem.
and someone else said Sergio Aguero.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because he had that at Manchester City, right?
I think Eminem's the one we want to go.
Okay. Keep your suggestions coming in. Hashtag Euro Show. Let's quickly touch upon Turkey, Mark. We mentioned it there, the fact that they have these excellent defenders like Soyuncu and Demiral, who was unfortunate enough to score the own goal tonight. It's really key for them now. And you can, of course, finish third and go through to the knockout stage. It's key for them now not to let them get too dispirited by the results of the Stadio Olimpico.
No, and I think that their confidence won't have taken too much of a dent because of how they fared in qualifying with that really good defensive record and the fact that they'd managed to find goals against some high-caliber opponents. So I certainly think they'll look at that Wales game as a match against a side perhaps, not on as high a level as Italy. So they might go into that not feeling that they have to be maybe as conservative. So we might see a bit of a different approach from them in that game, which could be more of a shootout, depending on what happens in Wales's game against Switzerland.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's on Wednesday, the 16th of June, next Wednesday. It's going to be in Baku, where Turkey are going to have a terrific support there from plenty of the people in Azerbaijan who are going to be able to watch those games in Baku. Turkey are very, very popular in that part of the world. And, look, they have the youngest squad at this summer's Euro. I don't think their confidence will have been dented too much. I think they'll look to the unfortunate nature of the opening goal, and they'll look back to the body of the work under Şenol Güneş for the last 2 years, really, as confidence now that they can still go and get 3 points, 4 points, 6 points, which would still take them through to the last 16 potentially.
The man who guided them to that brilliant run in the 2002 FIFA World Cup as well. So Turkey beaten by Italy in the opening game. There are 3 matches tomorrow, and we will get to those shortly. But a reminder, you can play as well fantasy football on Euro2020.com and on the official app as well. We've all selected our teams. And actually, this gives us a good excuse here, Chris, to go through some of the major team news from the camps around the competition not involved in tomorrow's games. And there has been obviously quite a lot going on. I'll quickly go to one on Poland, who play on the 14th against Slovakia. Krzysztof Piątek and Arkadiusz Milik are both injured. Milik out of the competition completely. Of course, Robert Lewandowski's the front man, but they like to play with the front two. So if you have one of those two in your fantasy team, you might want to try and tweak things up a little bit.
Yeah, the Netherlands, interesting there. The main concern for Frank de Boer is still Matthijs de Ligt. He's going to field him if he can, the Juventus man, but de Ligt is still recovering from a groin injury and hasn't yet, as of when we're talking now, completed a full training session. So their game on Sunday evening against Ukraine, interesting to see whether Matthijs de Ligt is in that 11 or not.
It makes things very difficult, doesn't it, for the Oranje, of course, because they go into this tournament without Virgil van Dijk, who they were hoping, Chris, I think, picked up that injury early in the season with Liverpool. And then it seemed Van Dijk, a little bit early, reined in his plans. He was like, I don't think I can play at this competition.
But he's still got a role as sort of team leader. He is still with the squad, to act as, mentor, guidance, whatever it's going to be. So it's nice that he's involved. Of course, he'd absolutely love to have been on the pitch. And it's a real shame he's not in this summer's European Championships.
It's funny, Jamie Redknapp was actually on TV in England today talking about Euro 96. And he said he got injured against Scotland, couldn't play again. But he did not want to leave the group. He was like, no, I'm staying here. And you can imagine it from Van Dijk's point of view. He is a leader. He wants to be around that group. And we're going to be talking about Belgium and that very subject a little bit later on. Some more team news from the tournament. Spain have Diego Llorente back. Now, Llorente not necessarily a starter for the Spanish national team, but he's recovered from COVID-19 and was actually given a little round of applause as he returned to training ahead of their Monday game against Sweden in Seville. Obviously, COVID's hit the squad a little bit. Sergio Busquets affected as well, and they had to play an under-21 team in a recent friendly. But Spain still would be amongst the 6 favourites maybe to win the competition?
Yeah, I think so. I imagine they will have all been watching their TVs and watching Italy this evening and thinking, oh, okay, Roberto Mancini's team are pretty good, aren't they? And just one final piece of team news from elsewhere. Croatia, who of course open up at Wembley against England on Sunday. Zlatko Dalic said on Dejan Lovren today, he's not in great shape yet. And that's it's no slight on Lovren. That's just because he's coming back from an injury. So he is not going to be in their 11 at Wembley for Croatia on Sunday. That's a very, very difficult opening game against England, another team who are fancied to go a long way into this competition.
And for a Croatia team that's lost a lot of their leaders in essence, like Mario Mandzukic no longer part of the squad, Ivan Rakitic, they still have Luka Modric who'll be pulling the strings, no doubt, at Wembley. Don't forget, 3 million people, I think, have played now fantasy football on Euro2020.com and on the app as well. Okay, coming up, we look at Saturday's 3 huge games at Euro 2020 as one of the big favourites get their campaign underway.
You're listening to the official Euro 2020 podcast in association with Qatar Airways.
Okay, let's go through the games on Saturday then. Group A, which is the same section as Turkey, Italy, let's remember. Wales, Switzerland, that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, CEST from Baku. 3 hours later, Group B gets underway. Denmark take on Finland. That's a home game for Denmark because they're playing at the Parkenstadion in Copenhagen. And then the day finishes with Belgium versus Russia from St. Petersburg. And I think a lot of these teams, Chris, know that losing that first game can be very bad, but you are still in the running because of the situation, the way the format of the competition changed, 5 years ago now?
Exactly. This is the second final tournament with 24 teams, and that is important because given that they are split into 6 groups of 4, the top 2, remember, go straight through to the last 16, plus the 4 best ranked third place teams. So if you finish third, 4 out of the 6 of those will also go through. And remember, Portugal won it in France at Euro 2016, and they finished third in their group, and they finished with 3 points. So if you lose your opening game, like has happened to Turkey in Rome, it is by no means all over. And do you know the great thing, Rob? Today was the first of 13 straight days in a row of football matches. 3 games a day starting from tomorrow for the foreseeable future.
Think of all those people at their desks, pretending to work, sliding over an Excel sheet and then quickly pinging back.
And if they do have a boring meeting and they can't listen live to this, they can listen to the podcast, of course.
You wouldn't do that, Mark, would you? You wouldn't be on an important conference call, a video call, and be sneakily having a look at Denmark, Finland?
You know me, Rob. What do you think?
Absolutely.
He wouldn't be in the meeting in the first place.
Hashtag Euroshow, by the way, if you want to get in touch on social media. Let's jump to Group B now. So at 9 p.m. CEST, one of the favourites, Belgium, take on the 2018 World Cup hosts Russia at St. Petersburg Stadium. Belgian boss Roberto Martinez has been speaking exclusively to UEFA and says that anyone could win this competition.
I think obviously the Euros are a very open tournament just because of the format. We've never had this situation of 11 host cities, so I think it's going to be a lot about how the team adapts on the day and how you adapt with the traveling and how to be ready for the game. And then you got the case that England could be playing 6 out of the 7 games at Wembley. So for me, it's a big advantage for England. You need to keep an eye on all the 4 teams that they finished in the World Cup 2018 are European, and then 2 teams that had a very good moment like Italy and Germany, alongside with Spain and Holland, that they didn't reach their level in the World Cup. Holland didn't qualify and Spain were out after facing Russia. So I think it's a very spread tournament, and on the day anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah, of course, they did very well at the World Cup, finishing third 3 years ago. And you wonder if perhaps if the tournament had been 12 months ago, Belgium would have been in better shape. What do you reckon, Mark? Because I don't think many people are saying, they're one of the 2 or 3 favourites necessarily, even though they're the top-ranked club in the world, right? They're top of the world rankings right now.
FIFA top-ranked side for nearly 3 years, Rob. So, that is some going. They've been consistent performers under Roberto Martinez. And, you would feel that this is one of the best ever chances that they're going to have to win a major trophy. It's not quite now or never, but certainly expectations are high, certainly from what I read in the Belgian media as well. They have the weapons to hurt any team. We know that Kevin De Bruyne is not going to be available for that Russia game due to the injury he sustained in the UEFA Champions League final. Axel Witsel also not able to play and, might not be able to participate throughout the group stage. But, no doubt they have the world-class performers. There is just that slight nagging doubt that, they are coming to the peak of their powers. So, this is the time for them to cash in. And I know that Roberto Martinez said that they've got unfinished business going back to St. Petersburg, the venue of their World Cup semi-final defeat to France.
Well, Elisa Saliu is UEFA.com's Belgian team reporter, and she is out in St. Petersburg for us now. Hello, Elisa. How are the Belgian team settling into Russia?
They've just arrived today, actually. So they've been training in Belgium at our base camp, and they've just traveled to Russia now for the game tomorrow. And then right after the game, they're going back to Belgium, train 3 days, and then they're going to Denmark.
And what's the latest on three key players, I guess? Eden Hazard, Axel Witsel, and of course Kevin De Bruyne.
Coincidentally, had a chat with Eden Hazard. He hopes to play. Unfortunately, he hasn't made a lot of minutes in the last couple of games. So I don't think we can expect him to play the full 90 minutes, but we're definitely hoping to see him. Unfortunately, Axel Witsel and Kevin De Bruyne both stayed behind in Belgium because for them it would have been too soon to play. So they've decided to stay there and focus on their recovery.
Are you getting any kind of sense from Roberto Martinez, the head coach, as to how fit De Bruyne is that he could potentially be available for the second group game?
Roberto is kind of staying on the fence about it. But one thing we do know, I talked to Jan Vertonghen today, and he had the same injury as Kevin De Bruyne has now. And Jan Vertonghen just said that it's just really important that he takes his time, because if you come back too soon, it might bother you much longer. So I just think they don't want to take any risks. But knowing how Kevin is, I think he's really eager to play. So they're aiming for Denmark. He's on schedule with the recovery, but, you never know with these kinds of things.
You're one of the lucky few, Elisa, who's embedded with the team. And as you mentioned, you've been speaking to all these great players. What do you sense their feeling is going into this first match? Because, they are the number one ranked team in the world at the moment. Do you think they believe that they can go a long, long way at Euro 2020?
Well, I've talked to Thibaut Courtois about it today, and he also said that he knows that there's a lot of pressure, also because we're the number one, but just also because it's, in Belgium we call them the golden generation, the players we have now in the team, and they're also aging. So yeah, everybody has like the feeling in Belgium that it's now or never for this group. They've also had it. They've been close to finals. So yeah, I think they're ready. They're focused. They feel like they can take on any team, but it's going to depend on how fit the key players are going to be.
And finally, Elisa, I was lucky enough to be in St. Petersburg a few years ago. It really is an incredible place, isn't it? What's the best thing about that Russian city? I know that it barely gets dark at this time of the year.
Yeah, well, that's not really a plus, because I hope the players have a good line so they can sleep. But I think that the stadium itself and just the facilities for the players are really great. And just also the atmosphere in the city, you can see everybody's excited, looking forward to it. So it's a big city, St. Petersburg, and the atmosphere is just great. You can't be here and not get excited.
Elisa, enjoy the opening game.
Thank you. I definitely will.
Elisa Saliu, UEFA's Belgium team reporter. It was funny speaking to Elisa as well early in the day. She was saying she is having the best time following the national team around. And it's great to hear our correspondents getting properly into the camp and getting the thoughts of even someone like Eden Hazard. Should he not play, and we know, of course, now, Chris, that De Bruyne will not play, where does that creativity come from? Where does the supply line go to one of the best strikers in the world in Romelu Lukaku?
I think two players have a big role to play. I think Yuri Tielemans, who would have lined up alongside Kevin De Bruyne, they'll probably play 3-4-3. I think we've seen in the English Premier League, and you only have to look at the goal he scored in the English FA Cup final to show his creativity. He can pick a pass. He can potentially dominate the game. I think Russia will will probably sit back. We'll hear more from Mark in a moment, who I know commentated on their last game. But I think Belgium will dominate the ball and Yuri Tielemans can be very important. And because I think Russia will sit back, I think the pace of young Jeremy Doku, who may well come in, plays his football in France now, came through that famed Anderlecht youth system. I think his pace could be really, really important for Belgium. It's a very difficult opening assignment, though, I think, that tomorrow night for them.
OK, well, let's get Mark's thoughts on Russia. Because, Mark, you commentated on the Bulgaria game, right, the other day?
Yes, that's right. Their final warm-up match ahead of the finals. They were 1-0 winners. They won it with a late penalty from Zabolev, the substitute. And that came off the back of a 1-1 draw against Poland. And I have to say, I think Stanislav Cherchesov, the head coach of Russia, was quite honest in his assessment afterwards when he was asked about those performances. And he said, what areas do we need to improve on? All of them, he said. We need to get better in every department. He didn't pull any punches. He said the only positive he could take from that last game was the result, the fact that they won the match. That they just looked a little bit sort of lethargic. And one school of thought, certainly amongst the Russian media, is that being quite a strict disciplinarian in the way he likes to drill his sides, perhaps the training camp had been a bit tough on the players and had taken a fair bit out of their legs. But certainly the momentum they built up with a couple of victories in the World Cup qualifiers in March might have just dissipated with a few of the performances that we've seen in those warm-up games. However, I know that one of the Russian papers reminded all of the fans that it's just like before the World Cup, where they were somewhat underwhelming in their pre-tournament games. And then we know what happened next. They made it to the latter stages of the tournament on home turf.
I just wonder if they can harness some of that home support, that home emotion, like they did 3 years ago, Mark. And you spoke about the coach there, who, of course, in his playing days was a very good goalkeeper. And that situation between the posts is interesting, isn't it? Because it's changed markedly since the FIFA World Cup 3 years ago. And Igor Akinfeev isn't here. And I think many Russian supporters would probably like him to be.
Yeah, I think that, the retirement of Akinfeev after the World Cup has left huge gloves to fill, if you will. There's obvious quality amongst the goalkeepers that they have now, but there's so little experience at international level amongst them. Anton Shunin looks almost certain to be the first choice goalkeeper for the tournament. But it's not just Akinfeev, actually, Chris. If you look at the fact that only 10 players in this squad were in the Russian squad from 3 years ago in that successful FIFA World Cup campaign. So, they've lost some of that core base of players. And also that sort of feel-good factor, the fact that the tournament's been delayed by that extra year means it's just that year on from the success that they had on home territory in the World Cup. But as you mentioned, they've got their first 2 games at home, in inverted commas, in St. Petersburg. And then they have the away game against Denmark to finish off their group stage campaign. So, certainly one thing I noticed commentating on the game that they played against Bulgaria is the fans were fully behind them, and Stanislav Cherchesov has spoken about how key that will be. Going back to the game against Belgium, we know how Belgium like to play. Chris pointed out they're very familiar with their formation. Bit of a box of tricks when it comes to Cherchesov and what he likes to go with. When I was doing my research ahead of that Bulgaria game, in the World Cup qualifiers, he used 4-2-3-1, 4-4-1-1, 3-5-1-1, 4-3-1-2 and 3-4-2-1. So
good luck if you remember all that, by the way.
Good luck trying to predict what he's going to come out with against Belgium. He's difficult to predict, but certainly there's no doubt that he believes in his tactics and also in the team, given that he reckons that they can adjust to all those different styles of playing.
Yeah, we know Belgium will be that 3-4-3, don't we, with those fullbacks, Thomas Meunier getting down one side as well. A lot has been made, Mark, of the fact that this Belgium squad is getting older, and we heard it there as well about the likes of Alderweireld and Vertonghen and Vermaelen as well. But one player I did pick out in the squad who was one of those, I think you told me 10, who were in the FIFA World Cup squad from 3 years ago, Yuri Zhirkov, is still playing for the national team. Do you think there's any chance we will see him, or is he one of those figures that you want around the group, a leader, a guy with all that experience, having played at, 5 or 6 major finals?
No, he is still very much a key player for Russia. He turns 38 in August, but Stanislav Cherchesov doesn't really know what all the fuss is about. He actually said to the media, what's the point in looking at a passport? He didn't look at his own passport when he was a player, Cherchesov. He was in the national team until he was 40, so why should he be looking at Yuri Zirkov's age? If a player can bring a result, he can't be stopped. So, everything should just happen naturally. And certainly there is still a lot of faith in him. And I have to say, even though that performance against Bulgaria wasn't the most impressive player for them that day was Yuri Zirkov.
I love it. I love the fact that this tournament we're going to see teenagers playing, and we're going to see someone who Mark said is almost 38. That's the difference in age that we're going to have at this summer's tournament. One piece of team news today, by the way, Rob, from Russia is that unfortunately Andrei Mostovoy is out following a COVID test. The Zenit winger has been replaced in the Russia squad by Dynamo Moscow man Roman Yevgeniev. So that is one change which Russia have had to make to the possible personnel that they can field against Belgium.
Okay, also in that group, so that is Group B, Denmark take on Finland in Copenhagen at 6 p.m. CEST. Denmark, of course, won a Euro back in 1992, famously, when they originally weren't even part of the original tournament lineup. While this is the first time that Finland have ever qualified for a major tournament. Let's talk about Finland. Chris, wild celebrations, I think, on the 19th of November 2019.
Yeah.
Lucas Radetsky, their goalkeeper, said it should be a national holiday the day they qualified for their first finals.
I think everybody agrees with that as well. A huge moment in Finnish football. He, by the way, can become Finland's most capped goalkeeper at this summer's tournament if he were to play all of the group games, which you would expect him to. And it is a fantastic achievement. You think of the wonderful Finnish footballers we've seen down the years. I know we spoke about this on the official preview podcast, but Jari Litmanen, Sami Hupia, there are plenty more, and yet this group who have come up together really, powered by the goals of Teemu Pukki, and it looks like he is going to be fit. He said, been struggling with an ankle problem, but he said yesterday or today that he's absolutely fine, and if the coach wants to pick him, then he can. And it's a terrific story. I think they are, of course, one of two nations making their final tournament debut at this summer's Euro, the other being North Macedonia. And, the excitement in Finland has only been increased because we've had this 12-month delay, and they will fancy they can cause a bit of an upset in Copenhagen.
Yeah, I think that, taking part in the first major tournament in their history, there might be the assumption that, Finland will just be happy to be there. But I tell you what, a well-organised defence, they've got a very hard-working midfield, and of course, as Chris mentioned, the goal-scoring threat of Teemu Pukki up front. They'll take inspiration perhaps from Iceland's exploits when they made their competition debut at Euro 2016, and maybe hope to catch some more of the established sides a bit cold. Having to effectively play away games against Denmark and Russia might make it a bit tougher. But I tell you what, that win against world champions France, albeit in a friendly in Paris last November, should certainly give them confidence. And they kept 6 clean sheets in 10 games during qualifying, which included matches against Greece and Bosnia-Herzegovina. So they're going to be difficult to break down, but I think a lot will rest on how fit Teemu Pukki is. Chris mentioned that he is going to be available to play, but we know that he had been struggling with injury, and he came on as a substitute for the final half an hour in their recent friendly against Estonia. So there will be a lot of focus on him.
Yeah, 30 goals in 90 appearances for his country. He's had another great season in the second tier of English football with Norwich City as they've been promoted back to the Premier League. By the way, Finland dropped to 110th in the FIFA rankings only in 2017. But Markku Kanava saying ahead of this one, no one can afford to lose points against us as underdogs. That suits us well. I think they'll be quite fun, Chris.
I think they will. And they have a bit of devilment about them. I think they're going to enjoy. He mentioned that underdog tag. I love it when coaches say that. They know exactly what they're doing, and that set of players will absolutely love the challenge. So we've already been to St. Petersburg. Let's head to Copenhagen now, because Sture Sando is UEFA's Denmark team reporter. And Sture, a home match, as we've been mentioning, for Denmark tomorrow. And I imagine excitement levels are pretty high right now.
It is, definitely. The sun have been baking down over Copenhagen for the last week, and everybody is more than ready to have the first ever Euro match on Danish soil. So everybody is just extremely excited about this and facing Finland tomorrow, we were probably some of the biggest favorites for match day one. So everybody expects a win, including the team.
Well, Copenhagen is an amazing city to be hosting. You're a beautiful city as well. What kind of atmosphere are we going to expect to the park, and how many numbers are we expecting in as well?
Well, it will be around 15,000 people in Parken tomorrow, which is quite good, I think, these times. And everybody is so excited about this. I've spoken to the head coach, Kasper Hjulmand, who took over a year ago. And actually, this is his first match at home in Parken with fans in the stadium. So it's going to be amazing, of course, for the fans, but it's also going to be a very special moment for all the players and coach as well.
You mentioned the coach there. I think I'm right in saying that had this tournament taken place a year ago like it was initially supposed to, he wouldn't have been the man in charge. So this must be extra special really for him.
Yes, definitely. Actually, it was planned for him to take over after the Euro, but after it got postponed, he was suddenly in charge, and he got this opportunity, but also great responsibility to actually lead Denmark through this tournament in spite of him not qualifying the team. So it's quite a special situation for him. But I really think that the team has accepted him and they enjoy working with him. But as he said on an interview earlier this week, this team has got 2 coaches behind them.
And he's talked about expecting the team to get out of the group. Now, having been around the players, do you get the sense that they feel the same, that they should get out of this section?
Definitely. People in Denmark talk about this is the best team that Denmark has had for more than 30 years. Denmark won the Euro in '92 as big underdogs. But this time, for this Euro, when we are playing at home, a lot of the players come from personal good seasons. You had Christian Eriksen winning the Italian league. You have Thomas Delaney, who's just won the DFB Cup in Germany. You've had Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, who's just got so well into the Tottenham team. You have Martin Braithwaite playing at Barcelona, and so on and so on. So and Kasper Schmeichel maybe at the peak of his career. The expectations are high among the fans, but also in the team.
Yeah, Kasper Schmeichel just had a fantastic season, didn't he? Won the English FA Cup, of course. Just paint a picture, Sture, where you are at the moment. I think you're in a restaurant, and for anyone who's not been to Copenhagen, if you could just tell us why they should, because it is a fantastic capital city.
I've been living here for 10 years, and I'm not going to leave, I have to say. It's beautiful with the canals and the parks all over. It's so nice to be here, especially in the summertime. And one of the things that I've been worrying about was actually if it was going to be like, not to be harsh, but an English summer. But it's not. It's the weather has been perfect and will be as well tomorrow for the match. We can only hope for it as well for the upcoming matches. But it's, you know, today, when I've been driving by bike through the city, I've felt this bubbling atmosphere. You see the jerseys all over, also Finnish jerseys actually, and you can just feel that everybody now wants to get to the kickoff and let's get this thing underway.
Well, we can't wait, Sture. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Sture Sander, UEFA's Denmark reporter, covering the team from Copenhagen. I suppose Mark Scott, who joins Chris Parrott and myself, Rob Daly, tonight on the Euro Show. The question mark is up front for the Danes, because we know about the quality that Sture mentioned there in the middle of the pitch, and players who've won titles this year. Who is going to play up front? That seems to be the big question for Denmark.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. It's a very interesting sort of, conundrum. They're very much settled in all other areas of the pitch, but they don't really have a definitive first choice striker. 4 players each started twice up front in qualifying. 23-year-old Kasper Dolberg seems to have won the battle, but an injury and a difficult season at times at Nice has given the young striker Jonas Vind the opportunity perhaps to impress. But, while that area doesn't have perhaps all the experience, you look at the spine throughout the rest of the team, from Schmeichel in goal, Kjaer and Christensen at centre-back, Delaney, Højbjerg and Eriksen, who was mentioned just then. They've all won trophies, with their clubs this season, the majority of them. And if you look at Christian Eriksen, who was the key player, perhaps unsurprisingly, for Denmark in qualifying, he scored 5 and laid on 3 assists, played every minute of the 8 games as well. He sort of really turned his time around at Inter during 2021 as well. He only started 4 league games in the first half of the season under Antonio Conte, but after that he scored that very late goal, didn't he, against AC Milan in the quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia in January, and that saw him work his way into the starting lineup a lot more often. 13 of the final 19 in the league, he was in the starting lineup and helped Inter win their first title in 11 years. So I think that, there's question marks about, who is going to get the nod up front, but it is so settled and so secure throughout the rest of the team. It's perhaps not that big a concern that it might be a bit more of a gamble further up the pitch.
Well, let's hear from Eriksen now. He can't wait to get going at UEFA Euro 2020.
The build-up to this tournament is special, no matter where I came from. But in the end, I'm not looking backwards. I'm looking forward to this tournament and to play the Euros. But yeah, of course, as a player, you always have ups and downs in a career. And how it's seen on the outside and how I feel about it is maybe completely different. But I feel very confident. I mean, if it would have been for 7 months ago, I would still feel very confident going into the tournament. So yeah, nothing has changed really, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Can't wait to see him in action. He played that wonderful pass in that friendly earlier this month against Germany for Yusuf Poulsen to score. Let's see if he can bring some of that magic to the competition. And the Danes in pretty good shape, aren't they, Chris? There's no major team news coming out of their camp.
No, there's not. And as Mark said, it's more about who might get the nod up front. Will it be Kasper Dolberg ahead of Jonas Vind? Will it be Martin Braithwaite and Yusuf Poulsen? We shall see. But look, I think this is a fascinating section that starts tomorrow. Group B, Denmark against Finland, as we're talking about, and as we've mentioned, Belgium against Russia. I don't know. I think you can make a case for all 4 of those teams potentially going through. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, the early game on Saturday is Wales versus Switzerland. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, CEST. And that is in Group A, and it comes from Baku. That is the same section from which we've seen Turkey 0, Italy 3. Wales, remember, reached the semi-final at Euro 2016, and we've been speaking to 2 of their most senior players about how their squad has developed since then. You'll hear from midfielder Joe Allen in a moment, but first, Real Madrid winger Gareth Bale, who's been on loan at Spurs, of course, says it's a huge achievement to reach the finals of another Euro.
Yeah, massive. I think if you look to our history, I don't think we've actually qualified properly before for any major tournament. So for now to do 2 in a row, it was a massive achievement for us. And like we've always said from when I started, we want to qualify for a major tournament, but then the next step is qualifying for multiple. And so we're definitely on the right track. We're going in the right direction. We're doing the correct things, and hopefully this is kind of a stepping stone for further things in the future that we can create now and make it a regular occurrence for Wales being a major tournament.
Yeah, obviously there's been a lot of change in terms of personnel, players, young players in particular coming through, and a lot of my generation, great players, have moved on and got older. Unfortunately, it happens in football. Age does catch up with you, but they're players who will go down in Welsh history. And what's great is they've passed the mantle on to sort of younger players who have slotted straight in. They know what it's about and they haven't disappointed. And I think that's all you can ask, really. It's night and day from years ago. The atmosphere on the camp and sort of the professionalism and just standards all around the place. So I think it's gone as smooth as you could want it. It's been, looking back only 4 or 5 years ago, it has been quite drastic in some ways, but it was always going to happen. And I think all the lads and anyone involved have dealt with it well.
Joe Allen there, Gareth Bale before that. On Bale, Mark Scott, he obviously, we look back to what would have been the old Euro 2020. He wasn't playing for Real Madrid. 12 months later, and particularly the back end of the season, he was getting lots of game time for Spurs. And you saw him. What kind of shape do you think he's in right now?
He looked really good when he was starting games. I think his record, was really impressive when he was in the starting lineup for Tottenham Hotspur. And, I was lucky enough to see him in the flesh at quite a few of their games. And he's still got it. He, despite, as you mentioned, the fact that game time was hard for him to come by at Real Madrid, it didn't look like it left any sort of rustiness there. And he's said as much himself. And we know how important he is for Wales's hopes. I mean, if you look in qualifying, they averaged 1.25 goals per game in qualifying, which was amongst the lowest of any nation to qualify for the finals. And Gareth Bale was at the fulcrum of that, and he's scored or assisted more than twice as many goals as any other Welsh player in competitive games since the start of Euro 2016 qualifying. So we know how key he is, but we also know just how much pride he has when he pulls on that Wales shirt. We know that every single player absolutely loves representing their country, but you just get the feel with Bale, it means that tiny bit more to him. And, he is a different beast when he gets that shirt on.
Yeah, and he always seems to have an enormous smile on his face, which I think that goes a long way, actually, in football. If you're enjoying what you're doing in any walk of life, you're probably going to do it better than if you're not. It's interesting, Rob, with Bale. I think, look, nobody wanted Euro to be moved by a year because of what happened in the global situation. But for someone like Gareth Bale, I think off the back of certainly more football this season than he had a year ago with Real Madrid. Yeah. And if you look through a few of the teams, actually, someone like Memphis Depay, who almost certainly wouldn't have been fully match fit for the Netherlands. Donyell Malen for them as well would have missed it had it been last summer. It's just funny how these things can work out for certain individuals. And then, of course, for someone like Virgil van Dijk,
yeah, the misfortune goes the other way.
The misfortune goes the other way.
Well, we have been zipping around Europe tonight on the show. Let's head to Baku, where we have a Wales-dedicated Euro 2020 reporter, Matthew Howarth. Matthew, thank you very much for joining us. Do you think this Wales team has a similar spirit to the squad that did make the last four 5 years ago now?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, there was a fantastic team spirit in France 5 years ago. It's a slightly different squad this time around, a different makeup. There are only 8 players who are actually involved in France. There are a lot of younger players this time around, but they've still got a core of players who were involved in France. That your Bales, your Aaron Ramsey's, players like that. So it's as Gareth Bale said at the press conference, it's a nice blend of youth and experience, and Wales are keeping their feet firmly on the ground, but they're quietly confident they can cause an upset or two.
You mentioned Aaron Ramsey there. I think a lot of the talk in the build-up to this match has been his fitness. You've been with them in Baku for a while now. How does he look? Is he confident of starting against Switzerland and playing the full 90 minutes?
Well, Rob Page delivered a very interesting update on Ramsey at the press conference earlier. Ramsey's been undergoing his own individual training regime, but there's no injury there. He's fully fit, according to Page, and this individual training regime, Wales have been planning that for a while after a bit of an injury-hit season in Italy for Ramsey. So, according to Page, Ramsey's fine. He's fit physically and mentally, and that's where they want him to be right now. And Page stopped short of revealing whether Ramsey will start tomorrow, but he's certainly got every chance of being included.
Gareth Bale's also been speaking ahead of this one. How much do you sense he's enjoying it and the occasion of being captain as well?
He's loving it. Yeah, he said earlier it's going to be one of the proudest moments of his career, leading his country out in Baku tomorrow. And he was asked about his lack of goals for the international side recently as well. But he's not worried at all, as you'd expect. He also said he's set up plenty of goals in that time. I believe it's 7 assists. Yeah, he's really looking forward to it. Really excited to lead the team out. And if any one player is going to make the difference tomorrow, I think you'd be a brave man to bet against Gareth Bale coming up with a winner.
And Matthew, talk to us about Baku. It's the furthest venue away from London and Wembley, where the final is going to take place, on the Caspian Sea. It's a fascinating city, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, it's a completely new experience for myself. I haven't been here too long, I must say. I've only been really from the hotel to the stadium in the 48 hours or so that I've been here. But it's a gorgeous city. It's full of life, and I've got a fantastic view of the Caspian Sea, as you said, from my hotel room. So can't really complain, can I?
And where are the team training at the moment, Matthew?
They're training at the. It's not at the Olympic Stadium. They're training at a different venue where the Azerbaijan national team used to play their home games before they moved to the Olympic Stadium. It's a smaller venue, but it's very picturesque. Wales have got the they've adorned the inside of the stadium with lyrics from the national anthem. So it's all decked out in Wales colours. I was there briefly yesterday. I didn't spend too long there, but it's a very nice venue as well.
Matthew, enjoy the opening game. You're in for a treat, I think, with Wales and this upcoming Euro.
Definitely. Thanks very much, guys. Wales
correspondent Matthew Howarth there for Euro 2020. Great to get his insight. How about the Swiss camp then? Midfielder Granit Xhaka says that winning the opening game is absolutely crucial.
It's always important to win the first game, to give you the confidence for us, for the team, for the players. And you start with a win is very important for us.
And what do you think is possible for Switzerland at this tournament?
Yeah, we want to do a lot of things. Of course, it's easier to speak than to do it on a pitch. But in my opinion, we have a very difficult group. And but yeah, with Wales, Turkey and Italy, we want to see how good we are, how far we can come. And the game starts tomorrow.
Granit Xhaka there, and Mark, he is very experienced now. And this is a very experienced Swiss squad with a very experienced international coach as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Vladimir Petkovic has really got them settled. The Swiss have benefited from continuity under him, really settled side, now accustomed to playing three at the back. Many of the key players very experienced at international level and you'd say perhaps battle-hardened after reaching the top tier of the UEFA Nations League as well. He has said that reaching the knockout stage is now the minimum target, and just monitoring some of the media in Switzerland as well. One of the papers there, Blick, believes that this is their most talented side ever, so no pressure.
Certainly not. They reached the round of 16 in 2016. Let's not forget they were only beaten by Poland on penalties, and they finished top in their qualifying group, which was a tough one, which featured the Danes and the Republic of Ireland as well. Chris, who do you think's a key player to look out for here from a Swiss point of view?
It is difficult to look past Xherdan Shaqiri. I think he's the guy that needs probably to provide the guile. I'm fascinated to see how Breel Embolo goes. And then at the other end, they have Inyan Sommer, probably one of the best goalkeepers, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Tournament. He is a top goalkeeper.
Okay, let's do a little quick fire thing to get the first show of the tournament done. We've got some quick fire questions for our panel. We've got outright winner, best young player, golden boot winner, dark horse. So Chris, I'll go to you first. Outright winner?
Well, I would have said it before tonight, honest. Italy.
Okay, best young player?
Best young player, I'm going to go with Jude Bellingham of England.
Okay, golden boot winner?
Romelu Lukaku.
Okay, and dark horse?
Denmark.
Okay, Mark, your turn. Ready? Outright winner?
Probably thinking with my heart here, I'm going to go England.
You're going to go England, best young player?
Well, I had Bellingham written down. Luckily, I had a fail-safe in case Chris nicked it. So Jamal Musiala.
Yeah, of course. The Bayern attacking midfielder did score in the Champions League knockouts, didn't he? Against Lazio, I think, this season. Okay, potential golden boot winner.
Well, I actually had Lukaku as well, and I'm not going to change my mind just because Chris has nicked it. And as far as the dark horse goes, it sounds remarkable saying it, but considering people are writing them off, I'm going to say Germany.
You're going to go Germany. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, isn't it, Mark? There isn't much expectation with the German national team right now.
But never back against them. So Germany, my dark horses.
Rob, your outright winner?
Yeah, I'm going Portugal, actually. I just think that squad is so good. I mean, you've got Ronaldo,
No, this is very true. We've gone 58.5 minutes without mentioning that. Very good call. Best young player?
I'm going Phil Foden. I'd be really excited if he starts that opening game for England against Croatia.
Golden boot?
I have gone Harry Kane, actually. It's quite England-based, isn't it? I've gone Harry Kane. He's just been unbelievable this season, so I'm going Kane on that one.
And the dark horse?
I'm actually going... Well, what is dark horse? You win it, or you just go deep? Can Iceland a dark horse, having gone that far? They are, aren't they? I'm going Scotland. Yeah. I'm going Scotland. I got so excited about their build-up. I'm going to go Scotland for that one. Okay, Mark, Chris, good work. Well, thanks for listening to the official Euro 2020 podcast brought to you by Qatar Airways. Remember that you can listen to us live every match night, just minutes after the final match on Euro2020.com and on the official app.
Yes, more of the same as we look back on Wales against Switzerland, Denmark v Finland and Belgium, Russia. Plus, Rob will preview Sunday's games as the likes of England and the Netherlands and the debutants North Macedonia get their campaigns underway.
Yeah, we cannot wait for it, Chris. And remember, you must subscribe to this podcast to get the latest episode as soon as it's ready. The perfect way this summer to follow UEFA Euro 2020.
for listening to the official Euro 2020 podcast in association with Qatar Airways.